Hello, everybody. I'm Ray Winslow in the Department of Biomedical Engineering. I'm here to talk today about our master's program. It's a very full-featured master's program. There's a lot of things going on in the master's program, and so I want to communicate our new level of excitement to all of you. Here's a picture of who I am. I direct the master's program in biomedical engineering. I started this in September. I'm also the director of the Institute for Computational Medicine here at Hopkins. And there are many biomedical engineering faculty and students in the Institute, so BME is heavily represented in our institute. And computational medicine is a major research area in biomedical engineering, and it's also one of our focus areas in the master's program, but we'll get to that in just a moment. So my goal today is to tell you about the master's program, our requirements, the focus areas, what you can do in these focus areas, the kind of faculty that you can work with, your opportunities, what is special about all of this, the unique things that we do here that are different from elsewhere. I'll give you an appreciation, I hope, for all the cool things about the Baltimore area and about the East Coast. This is Eden on the east of the United States, so it's a great place. And of course, what graduates of our program do, where they go, and they go to many different things, they do many different things. And then we can have a question and answer period at the very end. Well, I'll try and help you out there. Okay, first on Johns Hopkins University. We're a major research university, the first research-based university in the country. And for years, we've led other research universities in the total of annual grant dollars coming to the university through research grants. This includes all the different schools of the university. This calculation includes the different schools, and APL, the Applied Physics Lab, as well as the schools of the university. But it was $2.3 billion in fiscal year 2015, and a significant portion of this is funding from the National Institutes of Health, but of course there's also major components from National Science Foundation and Department of Defense and other private foundations and funding organizations like that. There are 9 divisions within the university, and they include the Whiting School of Engineering, the School of Medicine. I already mentioned the Applied Physics Lab. We have a very famous Bloomberg School of Public Health, and of course the Krieger School of Arts and Sciences. And one important thing to know about biomedical engineering is that we're not the only anymore, not the only department that is in more than one school. But we were the first department that it was in more than one school. So we were created as a department in the School of Medicine in the mid-1960s, and subsequently became a department in the Whiting School of Engineering as well as in the School of Medicine. And we were unique in that regard for many, many years. And it's an aspect of biomedical engineering that still remains unique. Most biomedical engineering and bioengineering departments around the country are based solely in schools of engineering. And we're in both schools. We are immersed in both schools. And since I've been at Hopkins, the Whiting School of Engineering has grown tremendously. When I came here, there were something like a bit over 100 tenure track faculty. Now there are 181 tenure track faculty, 31 research faculty, teaching faculty as well, and research scientists and engineers. There's been almost a doubling of the number of faculty in the Whiting School of Engineering. So it's a very vibrant place. I also remember another interesting statistic about the Whiting School. Beginning about 10 years ago, at that time, NIH funding levels in the Whiting School were fairly low, but 10 years ago, that started to climb, and it started to climb annually really fast. The curve was very steep, and not so long ago, it leveled out as the principal source of research dollars within the Whiting School. That is dollars from NIH-funded research. So that gives you an example of how the school has moved strategically in many departments to take on biomedical research. It's not just biomedical engineering. Significant biomedical engineering research, biomedical research is going on in many other departments of the Whiting School of Engineering. It's a big part of what the school is. It's important to know that, because if you come here, not only do we have a big world of engineering, biomedical engineering within our department, but we've got an even bigger world in the Whiting School of Engineering. And then when you throw in the School of Medicine and School of Public Health, it becomes quite the universe. So things have changed over the last few years in the Whiting School. The NIH funding has leveled off a bit, and that's a national trend. It reflects the state of the economy and the nature of funding these days. But not to worry, because DoD and NSF funding has continued to pick up in the Whiting School. So its funding levels are strong, and I'm just pointing out that there was a period of intense growth in funding biomedical research at the Whiting School, and it still remains a very vibrant area of activity. There are something like 9 PhD programs in the Whiting School. It's interesting, the master's program is a program in the Whiting School of Engineering. Our PhD program is a program in the School of Medicine. And our undergraduate program, of course, is a program in the Whiting School of Engineering. The rest, there are a total of about 14 master's programs in Whiting School, 21 part-time masters, and quite an online presence at the graduate level, 16 online graduate programs. And there are about 3,400 or so graduate students and undergraduates in Whiting School, and then about 2,500 part-time students who are primarily, largely off campus. So about 3,400 graduate and undergraduates here in the Whiting School. Now to the Department of Biomedical Engineering. We were the first department of biomedical engineering in the world. We were created in the mid-1960s by our first department director, Dr. Richard Johns, who was a clinician. But he was a remarkable clinician in that he was also trained as an engineer, and he had a deep appreciation of engineering. And it really was his vision that the way to pursue biomedical research was to bring to bear principles from engineering and mathematics and computer science. So Dick Johns saw that 60 years ago, almost 60 years ago now. And that has been our focus, to bring that approach to doing biomedical research. To me, this means that biomedical engineering is a broad discipline. To me, it means that any problem in biomedicine is fair game for us. There's nothing off the table. It's all in how we approach these problems, and we approach them very quantitatively from the point of view of engineering and computing and mathematics. And in fact, that's how we also teach biology and medicine. We teach it from that point of view as well. I personally think that the biggest thing that has happened in biomedical research in the last 60 years has been biomedical engineering. If you look at the nature of any basic science department these days, I don't care what department it is. It could be biophysics, it could be biology, it could be molecular biology. You look at in neuroscience, it could be any basic science departments. They're all starting to look like bioengineering departments. They're all starting to have quantitative components. They're all bringing engineering and computing and mathematics into biology to a lesser extent that we do in biomedical engineering, but that's going to change over time. And 10 to 15 years from now, I say all of biomedicine is going to be approached in the way that we do it in biomedical engineering, because it's proven to be an incredibly powerful approach. And I think it's the only way you can understand complex, deep biological and medical problems, the only way. And so the challenge is then, who are we as biomedical engineers if everybody 10 or 15 years from now is going to be a biomedical engineer? And I think what we do that is special, what we try and give to our students, is to give them such a deep education in modern engineering and a deep education in biology and medicine that they have the ability to look into the frontier of engineering and to be able to identify and understand absolute cutting edge, novel engineering approaches, and then make the connection of how to bring those approaches to bear on important biological and medical questions. So I think we will always be the innovators doing that. We will be the people with the training, you will be the people with the training who can go out there and use cutting edge, novel cutting edge engineering methods and apply them in unique, different ways to important biomedical problems. It's our job to train you to do that. It's what we do here. To do it, we leverage collaborations all over the university. One of the well-recognized universal attributes of Johns Hopkins University is the seamless way in which people can interact at a grassroots level at this university. It is effortless for people in the School of Engineering to make contact with and connect with and collaborate with people in the School of Medicine, people in the School of Public Health. It happens all the time. And the tip of that spear is often students such as yourselves, students who go into research labs in medicine, driving new collaborations, connecting together labs in engineering and medicine and public health or basic science, and you're doing it. And I'm not kidding, it's easy to do this at Johns Hopkins. It's a very open, sharing, collaborative place. That's one reason we're special. It may be the biggest reason that we're special, because people don't close their labs to others, they open up their labs to others. I would also say that many of us, the majority of us, have connections nationally. We have collaborators that we work with all over the country, and I know many faculty who send students for periods of time to different labs at different locations to learn new things and bring back new skills. We have connections into industry, we have internships in industry, and so it's a very vibrant, fluid, collaborative environment here. Our department is now a large department, and it's growing. It's going to really grow over the next 5 years. We have a new chair with a vision and who has been empowered to grow this department in new directions. We already have roughly 43 core faculty of biomedical engineering, 20 research faculty, many affiliated faculty, huge number of undergraduate students, nearly 500, nearly 200 PhD students, a little bit over 80 master's students at the moment, and we're growing that. We're looking to expand the master's program in a very significant way. And so there's a large corpus of like-minded people here in our community. Now to the specifics of the master's program. I'll talk about the focus areas in just a minute. We have 7 of them, but let me first say things that are general across the focus area. We offer a 1-year course-based master's degree. We offer a 2-year thesis-based master's degree. Both have a core requirement of completing 24 credits of coursework. This differs from what is stated on our master's website at the moment, and that's because we're re-engineering the master's program, we're redesigning it, and these changes are coming. But if you're applying this cycle for a master's program, the changes I'm describing will be in place by the time you arrive. And so the website currently says you need to take 10 courses, which would nominally be 30 credits of coursework. That will be different next year. Next fall, people coming in next fall, the requirement will be 24 credits of coursework. That's roughly 8 courses. So within each of these 7 focus areas, we define focus area core courses, focus area elective courses, and then general electives. The core courses within each focus area are considered to be a small number of courses that everybody should take who wants to learn about that focus area. They're so key that we require people to take them. And that's done in a couple of different ways. Sometimes there are specific courses listed that are the required core courses. Sometimes there's a slightly larger list and we will say, take 2 of these 3 courses, or take 2 out of this list of 4 or 5 courses. And so there's some flexibility to choose. It differs from focus area to focus area, but the common thing is that there's a core set of knowledge that is captured in these course selections, and everybody in the focus area should take that. And incidentally, when you apply to our master's program, you will select a focus area. You select one of these 7 focus areas. You're applying to our master's program to go into a particular focus area. Okay, the next kind of course we have are the focus area electives. Now that's a slightly larger list than of the core courses. There's more to choose from. It could range from 7 to 10 or maybe as much as 12 different courses. They're still very, very important courses, but we ask that students choose 3 or more focus area electives. So we give you flexibility to find something that really interests you, yet we are saying these are really important courses, but we're going to let you pick and choose a smaller number of these important key courses, and then you go off and you do. Finally, there are the general electives, which are flexible, which allow you to explore. You converge on those elective courses in discussion with your advisor. Every master's student will have an academic advisor, and we'll meet with them at least twice per year. And so that's where you have some real flexibility to explore different things. And there's room for choosing about 3 of these general electives. Everything I just said applies to the 2-year thesis-based option and to the 1-year course-based option. We are now asking that the students who are enrolling in the 2-year thesis-based option complete all their coursework in the first year. We just want that coursework done. At the point it's completed, they will literally have earned a master's degree. They will have satisfied the requirements for a master's degree through the course-based option. But those who choose to do a thesis will continue a 2nd year in a research laboratory where they are mentored to take on a research problem, and then they have a summer and a full academic year to complete that research problem, write their thesis, and graduate. Again, the course requirements are identical for these 2. It's simply that in the thesis option, you're going to stay here for another summer plus a full academic year to do that research. Now, with regard to the focus areas, we have 7 of them. And I'll just go through them in alphabetical order. The first is Bioengineering, Innovation, and Design. That is run by Biomedical Engineering faculty in the Center for Bioengineering, Innovation, and Design. It's an outstanding program that emphasizes identifying unmet clinical needs, working with clinicians to solve those unmet clinical needs, and do it in a way that produces a commercially viable product. There have been many startup companies out of this particular master's focus area. It is very heavily focused on innovation and design and how to create a product and how to build something, how to design something that fulfills an unmet clinical need. It's their niche. The focus on an unmet clinical need is a niche of the Center for Bioengineering, Innovation, and Design. Second area is biomedical data science. I know that you've all heard the term data science, and you have an appreciation that it means understanding how to work with extremely large data sets to solve important problems and learning the methods that are now being developed for analyzing such large data sets. our biomedical data science focus area is very focused. It's focused on problems in data-driven problems in biomedical engineering. It's an applied focus area. We want to not only train students in theory, but get them into real-world biomedical data science problems. And so that's one way in which it differs from other data science training programs. It's more hands-on, it's more applied. It also does theory. You can never neglect theory, but it's not intended to be a general data science training program. It's very much focused on biomedical questions of basic science and clinical importance. Biomedical imaging and instrumentation is a third focus area. Imaging has always been a major research thrust of this department. We've always had very close connections with the Department of Radiology. The technique of MR spin tagging, which allows you to literally image the real-time motion of a heart in a very detailed way, was invented here at Hopkins. And so many imaging innovations have come out of Hopkins. And we have a significant group of people in biomedical engineering and other departments as well, working in the imaging area, solving cutting-edge imaging problems. And these problems can be problems in basic science, and they can be problems in clinical imaging as well. Computational medicine is a discipline that seeks to develop computer models of disease, apply those models to data from individual patients so that you can tune the model to a patient and build a personalized model of that patient. And then it asks the question, how can we use that model to do something useful for the healthcare and the health benefit of that patient? And it's one of the largest, it has become one of the largest research areas within biomedical engineering. Neuroengineering and technology has a fairly specialized and unique focus at Hopkins as compared to other neuroengineering efforts. One of our major resources at Hopkins is the Kavli Neuroscience Discovery Institute. We have a world-class neuroscience department that runs a world-class neuroscience undergraduate program as well, and so they have a fantastic PhD program as well. Hopkins is a powerhouse in neuroscience. Our neuroengineering thrust is really building on that power and strength to address questions of large-scale data analysis in neuroscience. That's number one. Number two, how can we build technologies that enable us to capture massive data sets, novel kinds of data sets from brains, including the living brain, the functioning brain, the thinking brain, in real patients, no less. Patients walking around doing things. How can we collect real data on the function of a working brain, and how can we learn from it how brains compute? That's what we're really about in our neuroengineering program. Regenerative and immune engineering is extremely strong here. We have the Center for Translational Tissue Engineering. We have an extremely strong research effort in medicine, in immunology. I don't think there's an immunology department. There's an immunology program, which is a nationally recognized, internationally recognized program in immunology. Many fundamental discoveries in immunology have come out of there, and many advances in cancer immunotherapy and other kinds of immune system engineering have come from efforts in the School of Medicine and from the Translational Tissue Engineering Center. And so we're very strong in regenerative and immune engineering. And finally, systems biology is a major thrust here. It's represented strongly in biomedical engineering, but in many other departments as well. So there's many, many faculty that one can work with. And I should say at this point that if you choose to go into biomedical data science, just if you check that off as your focus area, if you're doing thesis, if your plan is to do the thesis option and be here for 2 years and do research, This doesn't mean that you have to work with only biomedical engineering faculty. That's not the case. You can work with faculty in any school of this university as long as we're happy with the mentoring you're getting and the problem that you've picked, and we think it's a good world that you're living in, and it's a good lab, and things are going right for you. You have tremendous flexibility in who you can work with here in the master's thesis option. Okay, I've already said a fair amount about each of the areas, and so I'll make only selective comments as we sweep through slides pertaining to each of these areas. I would say for bioengineering, innovation, and design, I would again emphasize the key role that a real clinical experience plays in that focus area. You will work with a team of clinicians who need an important problem, they have an important problem that needs to be solved. And so it's an opportunity to be immersed in the world and the life of those physicians when solving that problem. In biomedical data science, you're going to be able to work in many different areas of biomedicine, spanning oncology, cancer, cardiology, heart disease, autoimmune diseases, genomic diseases of diverse varieties, epigenomics, neuroscience, imaging, virtually every biomedical application area we work in will touch on biomedical data science, and you could find something going on here that involves the analysis of massive data sets, just about any area of biomedical research. So it's got tremendous potential here. Biomedical imaging and instrumentation. I would say that one of the most exciting things going on here in imaging is the development of new ways of bringing interactive imaging into the clinic, into the operating room, into the critical care unit, so that you're doing real-time interactive imaging that is providing feedback to physicians who are doing things. It could be providing feedback to a surgeon who's in the middle of a surgery, and you're doing fast, detailed imaging that provides feedback to that surgeon on how they should continue to do their surgery, or how they should adapt depending on the particular needs of the patient. And so and another interesting aspect of imaging here is we have the founder of a field called computational anatomy, which is all about, and that's Dr. Mike Miller, of how to take 3D image data sets on brain, heart, other structures, and figure out from them biomarkers of disease and do hypothesis testing on 3D image volumes from real patients that helps sort those patients into different categories of whether they're healthy or maybe they have evidence, brain structural evidence of early onset Alzheimer's disease or some other kind of dementia. These methods are actually being used in the clinic to do early diagnosis of brain disease. Very exciting aspect of the imaging thrust. Computational medicine, that's my area. I firmly believe that just like I said about basic science in biology, I think in the next 10 to 15 years, medicine is going to become an engineering discipline. It will be an area of engineering. Everything physicians do will be guided by an engineering approach, a computational approach, a data analytic approach, everything. Simply because disease is too complex to understand and to figure out how to treat outside the framework that every engineer now uses to solve other kinds of problems. This is going to transform medicine. This really is the future mission of biomedical engineering at Hopkins. There's a lovely phrase we have, engineering the future of medicine. That's our phrase, that's our mantra now, engineering the future of medicine. That's what we are going to do over the next 10 to 20 years. And so you can do that through any of these focus areas. But computational medicine is a focus area that also shares that as a central goal. Neuroengineering, I think I've said quite a bit about that already. There are just many different ways of pursuing neuroengineering in many different disease contexts here. In regenerative and immune engineering, it's, we're at a point now in medicine where it's not just reading out the genome. Others are doing that, we're doing that, but now there's the possibility we're going to write to the genome. We're not just going to read it, we're going to be writing to it, we're going to be editing it, and we're going to be changing genomes to treat disease through these new CRISPR-Cas9 technologies that are going to revolutionize regenerative medicine and immune engineering simply because we can now write to and edit the genome. I mean, we can't even envision the kind of changes and impact that's going to have on medicine, I don't think. In systems biology, disease is so multifaceted. Disease involves molecular networks with thousands of molecules, and there's no way to understand that and engineer it. We can't engineer stem cells. We can't train stem cells to do what we want them to do, to differentiate into what we want them to differentiate into, without building models and quantitatively understanding fundamentally how cells function and how stem cells function and what causes them to become a neuron or a heart muscle cell or whatever. That's a big thrust of our systems biology program. I think, so now on a slide entitled MSE Degree Requirements, I think I've gone through these requirements. 24 credits is the core requirement, and then if you're in the thesis option, completion of the thesis. Now, admission requirements. Now, these are guidelines. These are not hard thresholds that I'm giving you. The vast majority of our students are coming in with an engineering degree of some kind. It's bioengineering, biomedical engineering, electrical, mechanical, chemical and biomolecular, applied math, materials science. I'm not trying to be limiting here. There is no limit. I'm just telling you the composition of our current applicant pools. Some applicants come in with very little engineering background, and we do admit students with limited engineering background. It's necessary to build that background. There's no getting away from it. I'm just saying we don't say no if you don't have an engineering background. Now, our applicant pool last year, the average GPA, this 3.7 is not the average GPA. The average GPA in the applicant pool was 3.5. The average GPA in the accepted applicant pool was around 3.7. But we do not have a threshold based on GPA. I personally think that letters are very important. Letters from faculty that you have done research with are particularly important, and a single number is not of high enough dimension to display and tell us everything there is to know about a student. So don't worry, there's no threshold on GPA per se. And I'll say the same thing about GREs. I could go through the average GREs in our various pools, and if anyone wants to know, they can send it to me, but we have no threshold. Now, you do need letters of recommendation. I don't recall, frankly, the exact number. It may be 3, it may be 2 or 3. Letters of recommendation are a big deal at the graduate level. It's important to think carefully about who you're asking to write letters. Those want to be stellar letters who really tell us about you. And of course, one has to be highly motivated to go into graduate research. And previous research experience is a good thing. It's not essential, but I think the one value of it is if you've had a previous research experience, it's gone well, you've really gotten to know a faculty member, at least one faculty member, and it's logical then to go and ask them to write a letter of recommendation for you because they've worked with you and they can really say some in-depth things about you in that letter. Okay, the student experience here. We draw students internationally. And as I said, our goal is to train you in how to transform and shape the future of biomedical engineering, the future of basic science, the future of medicine. That's what we're doing here. Our graduates do different things. So some continue on into PhD programs. Some graduates coming out of the one-year course and the two-year thesis option continue on to PhD programs. They've just chosen a different route by which to do that. I think they go into PhD programs being better prepared with a stronger knowledge base and courses with credit that may very well transfer to that new program. But our students go to many, many different PhD programs across the country and across the world. The other thing is that many of our students go into industry. The healthcare industry is always growing. There's always new facets that need biomedical engineering. I personally think biomedical engineering training is the perfect training for any aspect of biomedical research in industry. Some of our students become entrepreneurs and start their own companies based on technology built here. Others become consultants and move into, in even some cases, the more financial side of the venture capital side of entrepreneurship in the biomedical world. They just do we prepare them to do many, many different things. Now, about Baltimore. Baltimore is a cool place. Trust me, it's a cool place. This is a foodie city. We have great restaurants, great wine, great cuisine here in Baltimore. I'm not kidding you. This is one of the foodiest cities in the country, period. It's a culture center, great music, great art. I know this. My daughter went to Maryland Institute College of Art. She's always taken me places and telling me things that are exciting that are going on here. It's a real music and art scene. That's a key part of Baltimore. There's just a huge number of events here. Artscape is the biggest outdoor art festival in the country now. It's the biggest one. Hunfest. I know what a Hun is. I'm not quite sure what Hunfest is. I think it's a celebration. The Hun is a woman who wears a particular style of hair done up in a bun. My daughter wears a Hun. And so it's a very Baltimore thing, and I guess Hunfest celebrate. Oh, I remember going to Hunfest. Okay. Oh, there's a parade, right? There's a parade that is the Hunfest parade, and there's these wild cars and people dressed crazy. It's fun. These things are going on all the summer here. There's new housing coming up all the time. Places close by the Homewood campus to live. Funky places like Hamden. My gosh, you talk about character. Wow, Hamden is loaded with character. Many faculty live there. I bet many students live there. It's a cool place. So you'll come here and fall in love with Baltimore the way I have. You know, when I got my PhD, I went off to Washington University in St. Louis, then I went off to University of Minnesota, and my wife was really getting angry at me because I was moving all the time. And the opportunity came up to come back to Baltimore, and she said, this is it. This is the last move, and the only place I will move back to is Baltimore, Maryland. So there you have it. That's the ultimate testimony on the quality of Baltimore as a place to live. So I'm ready for questions now. Here's a question. It says, I started applying to Johns Hopkins grad school. However, after starting the application and looking into the averages of test scores and GPA, I felt like I would not be a competitive candidate based on those thresholds. Do you think it is still worth applying? I say yes. We don't summarize people as a small number of numbers, right? A person is not their GPA and their GRE scores, right? I emphasized how important letters were. I think letters give us the most informed, helpful view of who you are, and that is why we're putting up, we're providing information on these averages just so that you know what they are, but we are not saying that if your number is different from those numbers, don't apply. That's not true at all. We don't threshold on GPA, we don't threshold on GRE. We try and look at the whole picture, the whole person, and so don't let that stop you. If you're feeling good about the things that you've done and the kinds of letters that you can likely get from faculty who know you through research or class or whatever, that counts for a lot. So it's your call. You've got to make that evaluation, but don't let the averages that we put up there stop you in and of themselves. One question is, could you possibly come in with an interest in the one-year course option and switch that? Could you then decide I want to do thesis research? That's no problem at all, right? Everybody's going to meet their course requirements in year one. If you're here as a course-based option student, and as long as you do that, if you find a lab and a mentor that you want to work with, I have no problem changing you into a 2-year thesis option student. It's no issue, because you're all working towards the same 1-year end goal, which is complete my courses. If you then have a lab to go into and you wanted to do a thesis, sounds great to me. That's what we're about. We're about connecting students up with faculty here. So there's no problem in doing that kind of thing, if you were wondering. Okay, here's another question. I'll read this. Do you have any advice for someone debating between applying to med school and or grad school? Now that's a very challenging question, a very personal question. Here's my take on it. Let's not kid ourselves, med school is really hard. The whole medical thing is really hard. It takes a long time, let's not kid ourselves, right? So you've got 4 years of training in medical school, then you've got residency, then you've got a clinical fellowship, and then you're out there in the world as an attending physician or a physician in private practice. So you got to realize it's a long road, a very rewarding road. Believe me, a very rewarding road. When it comes down to it, what's more important than helping other people, saving their lives? What is more important than that? Not a lot, not much. And so it's worth it. But you've got to understand that it is a very long haul. It's very hard work, but it's also very, very special. I think these days, the National Institutes of Health really loves research that's grounded in reality and linked to real clinical problems. I think people who go to medical school and who are trained clinically and who are also going to do research are very well positioned to take on those kinds of problems. They understand the real world of medicine, they understand its issues, and they understand research, and it's very, very valuable. Graduate school is very different from medical school, and the trajectory of a person on the academic research side is very different from the person in the clinical or the clinical research or the academic clinical research side. I think we academicians are entrepreneurs. We're running our own small business. That's our lab. It's our small business. We go out and we scrounge up dollars from our investors. Our investors are NIH and NSF and whomever else we can find. But and that's a bit scary. Okay, that's a bit precarious. But we do it. And the benefit is we can think about whatever we want to think about. We can do whatever we want to do with certain bounds. And it's just, it is our small business. And we get to work with a team of the smartest students in the world. You know, I just graduated a PhD student who left a year ago. He's at the Broad Institute now, and he just had his final paper published, and it was a big hit in PLOS Computational Biology, and they did an editorial on it and a press release. And I was just sitting here thinking, that student did it all. It wasn't me who came up with the key ideas in that paper. It was him. It was his creativity, his ingenuity, his energy that did that. And I got to tell you, it's so much fun sitting here with a bunch of students doing that day after day. That's a very rewarding experience. And you'll find the same thing in medicine. It's the same thing in medicine, but then there's another reward, and the reward is helping people. So I can't give you the answer to your question, but those are some things that if I were in your shoes, I'd think about. So we've cooked up another question, and this is it. It is, how can you strengthen your application to medical school or graduate school? How does this master's degree factor into that? Okay, on the medical school side, one thing I'm seeing here at Hopkins is, like all universities, we have a medical school advisory group who our undergraduates work with, and they get advice on strategy for applying to medical school. And they're all being told, every one of them are being told, take a gap year, take a gap year. Okay, now I'm not going to get into the debate of whether I think that's good or not. I will say, I will ask the question, what could you do in a gap year? Now, here's something you can do. To go for a course-based master's degree, just for the sake of argument, in computational medicine. What more could you want to differentiate you from the rest of the world? Or to do a year in the biomedical data science focus area. Who else applying to medical school is going to have a year's worth of focus and coursework, maybe even some research experience in computational medicine or biomedical data science or neuroengineering or any of the other things I could tick off here? I think that's a great way to take advantage of this suggested gap. The purpose of the gap year is to spend it doing something that makes you, quote unquote, better and different from all the other applicants. So this is the one way in which you can do that through the one-year master's option. Now, how might this be valuable in applying to graduate school? Maybe you're an engineering student who has very little biology. Maybe you think, I want to do biomedical engineering. I want to get into that world. I didn't know about it when I applied to this engineering department as an undergraduate, but it's what I want to do now. But I'm not trained in biology. How do I get there? Well, you can get there through a master's degree in biomedical engineering. You know, when you come in, you're going to be assigned an academic advisor, and that academic advisor's job is to figure out what you need to become much stronger in biomedical research. And if they determine that you need some core biology, we've got the courses. We've got courses in biology that are taught from the perspective of engineers. So you come here and you have a chance to learn. You're an engineer. You come here and you have a chance to learn biology in the language and the framework that you know. And you come out of that knowing biology, and you know it really, really well, because you now know it from a quantitative point of view, and that's really enabling, and maybe that really strengthens you in applying to another PhD program here or somewhere else. So there are ways that you can really use either of the master's tracks here to better position yourselves for either of those directions. All right, everybody, we're going to conclude now. That wraps it up. I really appreciate you listening. Any questions? My email is rwinslow@jhu.edu. Very easy, you can find it. Send me any questions you may have. I'm happy to answer them. I hope you'll think about coming here into our master's program. We'll have a wonderful time. You will have a wonderful time. I guarantee that. So thanks again, and have a great weekend, everybody.